Have you ever witnessed a moment so powerful that it felt like the world stood still? A moment when everything you thought you knew about life, love, and destiny suddenly shattered, only to be rebuilt in a way you never expected? Stay with me until the end, because this story will show you how one woman's frozen heart melted the instant she saw her mute daughter speak for the very first time, not to her, not to a doctor, but to a stranger who carried his own scars of love and loss. And before we begin, I invite you, if stories of kindness, miracles, and unexpected twists touch your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the Heartfelt story, so you never miss the moments that remind us how beautiful humanity can be. Elena Foster was the kind of woman people only read about in business magazines. She was polished, powerful, and untouchable, the CEO of one of the country's most successful tech firms. Her life was defined by numbers, boardrooms, and decisions worth millions. Yet, behind the walls of glass offices and luxury cars, she carried a secret no one dared to ask about. Her daughter, Sophie, a delicate 7-year-old girl with wide, questioning eyes, had been mute since birth. Doctors couldn't find a medical reason, therapists worked tirelessly, but nothing changed. Sophie lived in a quiet world, expressing herself only through drawings and gentle touches. For Elena, who thrived on control and solutions, this silent reality was her greatest heartbreak. Every Sunday, Elena forced herself to step out of her rigid routine and take Sophie to the neighborhood playground. It was Sophie's favorite place, a world of swings and laughter, though she never joined in. She would sit on the edge, clutching her stuffed bunny, watching other children play. Elena often sat a few steps behind her, laptop in hand, glancing between contracts and her daughter's lonely figure. She loved Sophie more than life itself, but she didn't know how to bridge the silence between them. Each giggle from other children was a cruel reminder of the voice she might never hear from her own child. One particularly crisp autumn morning, the golden leaves crunching underfoot, Elena and Sophie arrived at the playground like they always did. Elena sat on a bench, phone buzzing with urgent emails, while Sophie walked slowly toward the swings. But this time was different. On the swing next to Sophie sat a little boy, about her age, laughing loudly as he soared higher. Behind him, a man with strong hands and tired eyes pushed gently, his smile full of warmth. He was nothing like the polished men Elena knew from her world. His clothes were simple, his hair slightly messy, but there was something steady, almost grounding about him. Elena's eyes lingered on him, not out of interest, but curiosity. There was a rawness in him, a kind of honesty she rarely encountered. Sophie noticed too. She stood frozen, clutching her bunny, staring at the boy who laughed so freely. Then, for reasons Elena couldn't understand, Sophie edged closer. Her tiny hands gripped the swing's chains as if she wanted to try. The man noticed and offered a gentle smile. "Would you like to swing too?" he asked warmly, though Elena could barely hear from where she sat. Sophie didn't answer, of course, she never did. But then, the boy extended his hand, still laughing, inviting her to sit. And for the first time in her life, Sophie accepted an invitation. Elena's breath caught. She straightened, forgetting her phone entirely, as her daughter climbed onto the swing. The man gave a small push, cautious but encouraging. Sophie's eyes widened as the swing moved. The boy giggled, shouting, "Higher, Daddy, higher." But what came next made Elena freeze in place. Sophie turned her head toward the boy, lips trembling, and whispered a single, fragile word. "Higher." The world stopped. Elena's laptop slid from her lap, hitting the ground unnoticed. Her heart thundered as her daughter's voice, soft, broken, but real, filled the air. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. That one word was worth more than every deal she'd ever closed, every empire she'd ever built. And it hadn't been spoken to her. It had been spoken to a stranger. A stranger who now looked at Sophie with a tenderness that pierced through Elena's armor. Her mind raced. Who was this man? Why, after years of silence, had Sophie chosen this moment to speak? And what did it mean for them both? Elena's entire world, carefully constructed of power and control, was unraveling at a playground swing. And deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. Elena didn't sleep that night. Sophie had fallen asleep peacefully, her stuffed bunny tucked under her arm, as though nothing extraordinary had happened. But Elena replayed the moment over and over, hearing the soft echo of her daughter's voice in her mind. That single word, fragile yet alive, haunted her. It was both a miracle and a mystery, and she needed answers. The next Sunday, Elena returned to the playground, her heart pounding with anticipation. Sophie walked beside her quietly, clutching her bunny, as always. Elena scanned the park, searching for him. And then she saw him, the man from last week, standing by the swing set, pushing his son again. He looked up, catching her gaze, and for the first time, their eyes truly met. Something unspoken passed between them. His name was Daniel Hayes, a single father raising his son, Ethan, after losing his wife to cancer 3 years ago. Life had not been kind to him, yet he carried himself with humility and grace. He wasn't wealthy, wasn't powerful, but he had a gift Elena envied deeply, the ability to reach hearts with simple kindness. That day, Daniel didn't push Sophie on the swing. Instead, he knelt to her level, spoke softly, and offered her a small toy truck Ethan no longer played with. Sophie hesitated, glancing at Elena for permission, then back at Daniel. Slowly, she reached out and accepted. Her lips parted as though she wanted to say something. Elena held her breath. But no sound came, just a smile, wide and genuine, the kind Elena hadn't seen in years. Over the next weeks, something remarkable unfolded. Every Sunday, Daniel and Ethan were there. And every Sunday, Sophie drew closer to them. With each visit, her silence began to break, not in floods of words, but in whispers, single phrases, requests, and laughter so soft Elena sometimes thought she imagined it. Daniel never forced her, never pressured her. He simply created a space where Sophie felt safe enough to bloom. Elena found herself drawn to him too. Not in the way tabloids would have written, a glamorous CEO falling for an ordinary man, but in the way a tired soul leans into warmth after being cold too long. Daniel listened when she spoke about her fears, her failures as a mother, her exhaustion from being both a leader and a parent. He didn't judge her. He didn't try to fix her. He simply understood. One evening, after Sophie had spoken an entire sentence to Ethan during a game of tag, Elena broke down. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered to Daniel, "Why her first words with you? Why not me?" Her voice cracked under the weight of years of silent longing. Daniel's answer was gentle but powerful. Because sometimes, the heart needs someone outside its circle of pain to open the door. You gave her everything you could, Elena. But maybe she needed to feel free, just once, without the weight of your expectations. And now that the door is open, she'll walk through it with you. It was in that moment Elena realized what she had gained. She had fought battles in boardrooms, but this battle of love, patience, and vulnerability, was one she couldn't win alone. Daniel wasn't just the man who made her daughter speak. He was the man who reminded her how to truly live. Months later, Sophie's voice grew stronger. She still wasn't like other children, but she laughed, asked questions, and even called out, "Mommy," one morning, making Elena's heart shatter with joy. And when Sophie looked up at Daniel one day and called him Uncle Daniel, Elena knew their lives had been intertwined by something greater than chance. This story isn't about a CEO who built empires. It's about a mother who discovered that love, pure, patient, and unplanned, could heal wounds deeper than silence. It's about a child who found her voice in the unlikeliest of places. And it's about a man who, though broken himself, carried the key to a miracle. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of kindness, patience, and love, then I invite you once again to like this video and subscribe to the Heartfelt story. Because sometimes, the smallest voices create the loudest miracles.